Hey, how you doing? Welcome to the channel. Thank you for taking the time. So I want to get into some more of this Redfall drama because that's really what this is turning into. I dropped a video last week and I went over the IGN first footage, which has just been getting trashed. Just people are just going after this thing. And rightfully so, you know, and I said this in my video prior that I think that IGN should get some flack for this, but I also think that there is some egg on Microsoft's face, Bethesda's face, and Arkane. And I want to get into some stuff here. I do have some notes that I want to go over, but what I want to get into first is, let's go ahead and pull this up real quick. So I had where's it at? Oh, where's it at? I forgot where I put it now. Let's see. Here it is. Right here. So this is the tweet that was put out. This is a Redfall's Twitter page, and I just got on Twitter, so you know I'm new to this whole thing. I don't really like Twitter at all, but I really wanted to go to their actual tweet, and I wanted to be able to maneuver and look at some of these replies and stuff, but really that's not the focus. What I really want to focus on is the news here. And what they said was, Redfall is launching on Xbox consoles with quality mode only. Xbox Series X is 4K 30 frames per second. Xbox Series S is 1440p at 30 frames per second with a 60 FPS performance mode will be added via game update at a later date. So what is this? Okay, let's talk about that for a second, because you know I do get into a habit of just sort of throwing out these acronyms and terms and things, and I kind of forget that, you know, I am aiming towards, you know, the normie crowd. So if you don't know, the FPS means frames per second, and it literally is exactly what it sounds like. How many frames does the video game put out, the output per second? So 30 frames per second is kind of last gen, is sort of older games, like the quality is sort of, that's sort of old school. It's not unheard of. It's not like having 30 frames is the end of the world. Okay, there are certain games that do only 30 frames per second for, you know, system constraints. You know, that they don't have the game optimized or whatever. But when we're talking about PS5 and Xbox Series X, the standard has been elevated from the PS4 and the Xbox One to the current gen hardware. It's been elevated to 60 frames per second. I've played multiple games that have come out on the PS5, you know, God of War, Ratchet and Clank. Those are 60 frames per second. And I think most people in the normie crowd, I think most normies really wouldn't notice until they experienced it and then tried to go back. Like, if once you cross the threshold and you go to 60 FPS and then you go back to 30, it's hard to put the genie back in the bottle at that point, because that's how it happened to me. When I used to play games, really what I cared about was how it looked, you know, when I'm talking about, I mean, the gameplay, you know, that matters and all that other good stuff. But in terms of the visuals, I was really all about, like, you know, is it 1080p when that was a thing, or is it 720? You know, is it 4K? Is it true 4K? That type of stuff. I really never cared about FPS, frames per second. And now that I have made the jump and I play all my games at 60 frames now, going back to 30 frames is really jarring. And it's something that I just can't deal with. It when you turn the camera around, it's really stuttery, and it's just one of those things that once your eyes adapt to it, you kind of can't go back, you know. But I think most normies would probably say, "Oh, what's the big deal? I play all my games at 30, or I don't even know what that means, and I don't really care." That's fine. That's totally okay. And I think that there is something to be said about, is the 60 FPS, is that sort of a hardcore gamer qualification, or is this something that more and more people are waking up to that FPS? I'm sorry, the 60 FPS, and having that ability to play games at 60 frames versus 30 frames. If there's more and more people like myself have made the switch, and I think we're kind of in the middle of that. I think there's more and more people are switching. But I don't think that every single gamer is saying, or every single normie, I should say, is crying, "Where's my 60 frames?" Right? But this is something that is a big deal, and the reason why is because when Microsoft launched the most powerful console on the planet with the Series X, they were quoted at saying that 30 frames was previous gen, and that 60 frames was just the standard now. Like, that was what was going to be. They didn't say every game's going to be, but they were saying that the standard is 60 frames, and that the goal was to go higher, was to go into that 120 frames, which is, obviously double the amount. And just, the more frames you have per second, it's just faster. It's a much smoother look to it. Like when you wave the camera around, or you wave the gun around, or you pan the camera around your character or the world, the more frames you have per second, the cleaner and better it will look. Now, going back to this Redfall thing, this tweet came on the heels of the IGN first trailer, or whatever you want to call it, the IGN gameplay reveal that they launched last week. And this just really sucks for Arkane. I kind of feel bad for them, honestly. I really do. I think Arkane is a good studio. I'm not a Arkane fan. Never played Prey. Never played Dishonored. I don't like first person like melee games. Dishonored looked cool, but I just like stealthy games that play in first person. I don't really like them, because when you're playing a stealth game in that first person perspective, you lose so much of the world around you. And so sneaking around, to me, is always a pain in the ass, to try to sneak through things or sneak through little environments without being seen. And like when you play in a third person where you can actually see your character on screen, it makes the world of difference to me, because then you can really sort of tell, you can maneuver the camera to sort of give you a better feel for your environment. So that's the reason why. I don't have anything against Arkane. And they're a solid studio. They've been around for a while. But they are under the Bethesda umbrella, which is now under Microsoft. They are a first-party studio for Microsoft. Now, I understand that Microsoft made the claim about 60 frames per second being the standard. I understand that was made prior to them purchasing Bethesda. So that's kind of why I'm thinking I'm giving Arkane slack, because they didn't say that shit. Arkane wasn't saying that. They never said that. And if I'm not mistaken, I don't recall Todd Howard, as much as I think the guy is a bullshitter, I don't recall him ever saying that 60 frames was the standard. So this is a problem that sort of got handed off to Bethesda and all their studios because Microsoft said it, and then they bought Bethesda. So I kind of want to give Arkane some slack. I think this is more of a Microsoft problem, which we'll get into more of that a little bit later. But the footage that has been shown for the gameplay that I've seen so far has all been 60 frames. And one of the things that bothers me, and I went back and forth over this, and I talked to Normie wife about it a couple of times, because there is a problem going on with creators and with media in general. Okay. Now, to me, independent creators like myself, even though I'm a very small channel, there are plenty of channels that are in that 20K, 100K subs, 500,000 subs. There are plenty of creators that started off small like myself, and I think there are some that have transitioned into that sort of media rules. And what I mean by that is media has been exposed, and everyone knows that, well, I won't say everyone, because some people are still sleepwalking. But for the most part, media has been exposed so that people understand what they say can't be 100% trusted. Okay. Now, games media and the gaming is sort of my, I guess you could say, area of expertise. I wouldn't say that. That's probably not correct. I would say most experience. That's where my experience is. I've been gaming for a long time, and I used to be a big media guy. I used to love all the big media sites and click on other stories and read the articles and watch the videos and stuff like that, trailers and what have you. But over time, they have really, they've been exposed to the point where we know as viewers that they're lying. We know when they bullshit. And I think a lot of the small time creators who are now larger creators, there is a group of them who have fallen victim to acting just like media. Lying about what they do, lying about what they see, and in hopes of maintaining that access to the invites to the Xbox parties or the PlayStation parties, the Nintendo parties, and I think this is relevant because a couple of YouTubers have been getting roasted pretty hard, and I think rightfully so. And I'm not saying it's okay to harass anybody, but pointing out the obvious, I don't think is harassment, and I don't think it's a witch hunt. There's one in particular that I won't mention the guy's name, but I found this guy not too long ago, a few months ago, and I'm not a sub to his channel. Him and other channels like his they're very in the Xbox camp where nothing is Xbox's fault. PlayStation fans are fanboys or ponies. Xbox gamers are just gamers. They're enthusiasts and all this other, the terms. And, there's always a reason why Microsoft messes up, and it's never their fault. They've made so many mistakes in the last two generations, this generation and the previous. And these people have just been running cover for them and, constantly propping them up, overlooking their mistakes, and always going after PlayStation, just ridiculing them. They don't seem to want to mess with Nintendo because everyone loves Nintendo, right? But PlayStation is the number one. So I will say this, when Xbox creators go after PlayStation creators, when you're looking at the console war, PlayStation is number one. Xbox has failed to supplant them, and at every turn. There's been a couple of close calls there where it's like, oh man, Xbox might surpass PlayStation, but it hasn't happened. It has not happened yet. And that's not to say that Xbox is that the hardware isn't any good. That's not what I'm saying, and I'm not saying people who play on Xbox are bad people or anything like that. It's that people really get that confused, and people really. They take it to heart when people criticize, the box that they play on. But there are some people out there. There are some creators out there who got caught lying, essentially. So we'll get into that. I do want to. So this is the story right here. The Redfall, 30 frames per second. I want to talk a little bit more about the creators, but what I want to do is I want to go over some footage of the of Redfall. So let me pull this up. So this was released a month ago, and I didn't review this. Like I said, I just got into figuring out how to actually screen share and whatnot. So I'm an older cat. This stuff takes time for me to soak in, but I would have loved to have done what I'm doing now when it first came out, because I watched this a couple of times. I watched it when it came out, and I've watched it a couple of times since. And I do have thoughts. I have thoughts on this. And I want to say that, this footage looks like it's 60 frames per second. And the reason why I want to go over this is because, a lot of people were going after IGN and saying that IGN, they're the reason why our Redfall is getting all the flack that it's getting. It has nothing to do with the game, and furthermore, just like days before the IGN footage released, it was like Redfall's going to be amazing. All of the creators who've been running cover for Xbox, they were just going on and on about how this game was going to be good, how great it was. And furthermore, there was an event that had I think it was hosted by Arkane, or it might have been Bethesda. Regardless, there was a host of creators, YouTubers, who were flown out, put up in hotels to get access to a 90-minute play session with Redfall. There were people who put out videos, not all of them. I'm not saying all of them, but there's a couple, and one in particular that really annoys the hell out of me. But you know, the YouTubers who went and played the game and then came back to their channels and they started making videos, they were saying just a lot of great things. Just everything was great. Everything is awesome. And the game runs amazing and it's so much fun and it's nothing like Back 4 Blood. It's nothing like Left 4 Dead. It's so unique in so many ways. And that to me was a red flag, because I'm like, this game looks, it's not doing anything new. It's not breaking the mold of first-person shooters. It's not doing anything that I see that is like revolutionary. Now, that's not to say the game is shit or that it's going to be a bad game, but it was had the stench. It had that media stench on it, you know, where it was just positive, zero critiques. And I had watched, you know, a lot of these trailers, and this one in particular that I'm going to go through real quick. I'd seen this and I'm like, it doesn't look that great. I mean, Jesus, let's calm down. Like it's not like Starfield, you know, like Starfield is something completely different. That's a whole different monster. That is a game that they are really pushing something. They're trying to do something new. So that to me is like, okay, like if someone says, if I were to explain Starfield to another normie, I would explain to them that the reason why this is so cool is that this is a big scale, and what they're doing, what they're trying to achieve is pretty unique. And there's only one other game that I can say that has done this, and that's No Man's Sky. You know, but this game, you know, Redfall, when you describe it to someone else, it's kind of the same. You can just, if you listed off a couple, just the main points of what this game is. It's a first-person shooter. It's play with your friends. And it's a looter shooter, and you're going after vampires. And then you watch one trailer, and it's like, oh, if they have played Left 4 Dead, if they have played Back 4 Blood, I guarantee you the majority of, you know, gamers, normie gamers even, would say, oh, that looks just like Left 4 Dead, or it's like, oh, so it's like Back 4 Blood, but with vampires. Not a bad thing. That's not a bad thing, okay? But it was just being hyped as though it was revolutionary. And it was like, oh no, this is like Far Cry. This is nothing. And I mean those words. This is nothing like Back 4 Blood and nothing like Left 4 Dead. Okay, you can't say that, honestly. That's a lie right there. You know, that's not true. It is a first-person shooter, just like Back 4 Blood. It's a co-op online game, you and 3 other friends. So, you know, that's just like Back 4 Blood. It's a looter shooter. That's just like Back 4 Blood. Like, why do you say that it's nothing like that? You know? And so, like I said, it was the hype train. You know, it was just the hype train of overselling this game. And then the IGN first trailer comes out, and a lot of red flags went up. I did my video, I did my review on it, and you know, it raised concerns. Like, is this game really ready to come out? It doesn't look that good. But I went back and I looked at some of this footage, the footage that I'm going to go through right now. And I do want to show, like, there are pieces of this game that do look good. Okay. And I'm not going to break down every single scene like I did before, but I do think it's important to go through, because there are some things in this trailer that I was watching and I was like, okay, it looks just like the IGN footage in some regards. So let's get into this, and then we'll sort of wrap up on some other stuff in regards to these creators out there who are just covering for this game and who got caught lying. All right, so let's go ahead and press play. All right, so
something evil is swallowing up this place bit by bit. Nobody ever believes things can get
And the art style, you know, you can see the art style looks good. You know, it looks good. I like the sort of pastel painting look, you know, look to it. I think it's cool.
There are people who can fight back.
Okay, so this footage right here doesn't look that bad, you know, but I can make some nitpicks right away, like pretty quick. Just right here, right there. You know, the lighting and stuff doesn't look that great, shadows and stuff, and that's kind of one of my things that always stands out to me. It doesn't look perfect, but it doesn't look terrible. It's like, okay, it kind of looks decent, looks okay.
Welcome to Redfall, Massachusetts, where the calm seas and sunny skies have been eclipsed by a legion of vampires. Redfall is a story-driven shooter at its heart.
That's pretty cool.
which can be
Like
played
she looks
single-player
pretty rad.
with up to 4 players.
Right there. Okay, let's
Choose
back
your
up for just a
hero,
quick
each
second
with their
here.
own unique abilities,
This is what I mean.
squad to take
This is where you start to lose me.
seas and sunny skies have been eclipsed by a legion of vampires. Redfall is a story-driven shooter at its
Okay,
heart,
so
which can be
right
played single-player or co-op.
right there. Look. This bothered me on the IGN footage, and it bothers me now. Okay, this all looks fine. The scene looks fine. No complaints there. You can get into the little granular details and maybe, you know, pick some stuff apart. But this right here is what irritates me. This bothers me. Look, this person's floating. It's a floater, and there's a lot of floaters in this trailer. They're a lot more than I actually thought. When I went back and watched it again today, I was like, wow, there's quite a bit of this stuff. But this person's walking on air. The shadow doesn't touch the feet. They're floating.
Co-op with up to 4 players.
Same thing right here. Look, this person, the player turned on a flashlight, and there's you can't see any shadows anywhere. You know, you can see past the person here. Like you know, the light there should be some shadow right here somewhere. Right. And again, you can say that that's just being overcritical, but it is something to point out. And that's something that I pointed out in the IGN footage.
Choose your hero, each with their own unique abilities, and form the perfect vampire slaying squad to take back Redfall's haunted streets.
Pretty neat ability right there. Not bad.
At
Music's
Arkane,
cool.
We make games where the world itself is as important as the characters.
Yeah, that beat's pretty tight. I like that.
Exciting step forward, building a lovingly detailed
See, this looks pretty good. I like this. Like this design looks good.
Carefully handcrafted and packed with environmental story.
And, you know, I don't think the environments look bad. I thought the environments on the IGN footage look pretty lame.
Bustling downtown to the
But it's okay. I could pick apart multiple things there, but I don't...
gorgeously detailed.
It's not something that I'm looking at like, oh my god, this is just trash. No, it's not. It looks okay.
There are safe places on the island where you can rest up, chat with survivors, and resupply.
So that right there, that's something that I noticed when. So there was the argument that it's nothing like Back 4 Blood. It's nothing like Left 4 Dead. Okay, and they were associating it with Far Cry. So for the normie, Far Cry is a game made by Ubisoft. They're on, I think they just came out with their 6th one the last, I don't know, 2 years ago, whatever. I used to be a really big fan. Kind of got a little stale. The formula got stale. But the reason I think that they were sort of associating the Defenders were associating this game with Far Cry is because it's an open world game, and Back 4 Blood was not open world. You had a beginning of the mission, and it wasn't really, it was a map, but it was a very narrow corridor style map where you'd be traveling through, you know, alleys or streets or whatever, and then you would be funneled through one area into another, and you couldn't choose. Like it was very specific on where you had to go. So I understand that to me, that's a fair thing to say. Like, if this is a true open world, you can go wherever you want, you can do whatever you want, whenever you want, and complete the game as you see fit. That's fine. That's totally fair. But I also got, like, to me, when they say these hub worlds and stuff that are located, I kind of got Division vibes. The Division, I was a fan of 1 and 2. I wish Ubisoft had really you know, nurtured the Division franchise and, you know, made it continued to add on and make it something special. They did a little bit, but yeah, just to me, they just sort of fell off. It was a great game though. I had a lot of fun with it. And that's not a bad thing. The Division, like I said, I like it. So, but right there, you know, like this guy just floated. He's floating. We got a floater here. Not doing, you can see right here, no shadows underneath him. There's a lamp right here. He's casting no shadow behind him. You know.
This is one place you'll receive.
So like I said, there's these little hub worlds, and you know this to me, obviously this looks like 60 FPS.
It's been used for over a century to keep boats away from the coastline. If we turn it back on.
You know, there's one thing too that I noticed, and not so much. Well, kind of with this gun too. This I think this gun is too big. I think the camera, like this gun, is taking up a huge portion of the screen here of your field of view. Like, you know, looking back and like you're looking at the whole screen now, it just seems, and I noticed this with other guns too, because there's a few different weapons that you'll see, and they're like the guns are like big honking things that are kind of in the way.
It's a warning to anyone trying to come to Redfall right now. Easy, right? Well, the lighthouse keeper's a real asshole. Joined up with those cultists and took the damn lamp with him.
Go on, Bert.
Look at that, homeboy was floating. He was walking in place. He's like moonwalking.
Known as the Shroud. Shrouds blanket the area in darkness, disorienting their prey. They hurl lethal projectiles and can even shift
And
through
this-
the floor to avoid damage.
This just looks pretty standard, and I don't think it looks that good, to be honest with you, graphically, and even just gameplay wise. It's just like, okay, it didn't. They say it's a powerful enemy, and it just didn't seem like much to me. So then the footage turns into, or the gameplay turns into this sort of like horror, you know, game where it's like, you know, once again you got no shadows behind the legs here. You know, everything's it, and the reason why I harp on that is because it kills the immersion for me. When I see things that look like that, it lends to like, oh, I'm in a video game. Yeah, this is obviously a video game, and I know that sounds stupid. I know that sounds, to a normie, that might sound like, of course you're playing a video game. Like, what's your problem? I understand that, but this is escapism. You know, like watching a movie, reading a book. You know, you're escaping, you know, the real world. This to me reminds me of it. Like I'm not living in this world, or this world is not existing without me. It's like, oh, this is a video game. It breaks the immersion. You know, it's the best way I can say it. Yeah, and you know, it gets tense, and it's okay. Like, this is okay. Visually, it looks okay, but like the wood and everything, it just kind of looks like everything. This looks plastic to me. All right, I thought it was funny. Okay, see how he ran. So the reason why I'm laughing is because the IGN footage just you know, reamed for this. It was like, why is the player running away from the enemies? Well, you know, they're in a gunfight and they're not going after the enemies. Why aren't they fighting the bosses or whatever? And this footage is like, you know, this is the good footage, and you know, the person runs away and tries to get a better view of them. But I don't know. It just kind of stuck out to me. It was like, IGN has got trash for that. Oh, that right there. Okay, this annoys me. Look right here. You got your light sources right here. Okay, this looks pretty okay right here. But look, the light is shining right through this chair. There should be a shadow here. Sorry, where's this person's shadow? There's no shadow on the ground. We have yet another floater. Let's see here. Come on. Oh, my bad. That was on me. Yeah, see, look at that. There's just there's no shadow at all. At all. Yeah, look. See the foot just floating. You can't even tell he's touching the ground. I thought that was cool. I like that right there. That ability to cloak. That's pretty cool. See, shadows there. That looked good.
The lighthouse is back up. But
See, lighting looks good there.
waiting for you. Take
The lighting looks,
vampires
you know,
and angers
looks
of
pretty good.
fire gods, who will summon the
And this is funny because, you know, this is part of the footage that IGN showed, and you know, there's the Rook again. There's the big swole dude with the baby head shoulders, and that looked pretty cool. But then we see how the AI reacts, and we saw how the AI was losing you even though you were right next to him. That just raises questions.
Like this brewery that's fallen under cultist control. Save the locals from being offered to the vampires.
No shadow right there. Lamppost right here. No shadow. Floating. No shadow right here. No shadow here. No shadow there at all.
Remy
It's-
uses her combat robot Reborn to help distract and eliminate the cultists.
He had a shadow. That's pretty cool. That robot's pretty cute too. I think it's funny. Looks like a dog.
We got him, Reborn.
Like a two-legged dog. Yeah. Yeah, see, visually, it's just, the aesthetic just isn't that pleasing to me. You know, it's very, it looks like something that would be running on last-gen consoles. Not even sweating. Which raises the question, why is this game not at 60 frames per second? You can get some gear. Very Destiny looking. No shadow. See that? See that? Right there. Let's back it up. Back it up. Okay. You're not casting a shadow here at all. There's a light source behind you. We saw the light. You could see the light source. Look. There's the shadow right here. I'm sorry. There's the lights behind you on this frame right here. And you can see, you know, he's not casting a shadow, but there's light over your left shoulder when you walk towards this right here, over your right shoulder too. Look, no shadow. You don't cast a shadow at all. Immersion breaking. Another thing too that they said, oh, this isn't like Back 4 Blood, but the Back 4 Blood had like characters that were very specific, and then they you had a card system, which I thought was really cool. But you know, they all said these little quippy things just like this. That was another thing too. Yeah, if you notice this, let's see here. Let's back up right here. So when you jump in here, you got the bloater there. Okay, watch this. Watch this. Shooting with machine gun. Blink. It just leaves. The gun just leaves. It just leaves the player's hands. Like you go to. See, there's the gun. Like she's using or he. I think this is the girl, but shooting the machine gun, and then blink. It just goes away. And then the shotgun comes out. So it was lack of an animation of like just bringing the gun down or throwing the gun over your shoulder. The gun just disappears. You know, that character has no shadows at all.
Everyone's safe. Let's move on.
He casts no shadow. I mean, it's a common theme, right? And I think that some people would hear me say that, like, dude, why are you stressing it so much? Why do you care so much? Because this is a 2023 video game. This is something. These are little things that should be taken care of. These problems should not be happening. And then on top of that, to say that you can't get 60 frames out of this, like the game isn't even that powerful, and it shouldn't be that taxing on the graphics side because you're not putting up tons of particles. There's. You know, somebody said that, oh, this game is focusing on a lot of particles. There's some. There is some. It's not like there's zero particles, but this isn't I don't see that the focus of this game is particle effects. See, look how much that gun takes up. Like, look at this. That's a big section of the screen taken up. And maybe it's just me. I think maybe it's just because the camera just seems like it's so close. No, and another thing too, and there was this, you know, how they're saying, look at that, look how much space that thing takes up. Like this just seems like it'd be in the way. But there's this talk of like, oh, this isn't like Back for Blood. It's so different. Why are you trying to distance yourself from a game that I think is good? And Left 4 Dead, I don't care what anybody says. I never played that game, but when Back for Blood came out and when, you know, Left 4 Dead and back in its prime, everyone loved that game. It was very popular. No shadows.
Nests aren't the only psychic spaces. You'll find dangerous pockets all over the island. It's all vampire turf, so tread carefully.
And you know, like the this doesn't look real. You know, it's the art style isn't like it's a realistic, you know, design. It's not made to be ultra realistic, and that's okay. But like that looked pretty good right there. That looked all right.
Safe houses hidden all over the island, and then work your way up to the vampire controlling the neighborhood. To reclaim this neighborhood, you'll have to defeat a powerful vampire called the Siphon.
Again, that's very much like the Division. You know, you had districts that you could take over, and you had to, once you took out certain areas that had, you know, waves of enemies come in, and you defeat some heavy guys, and then you kind of take over that part of the map, and you would lower the amount of enemies that would be in that area. No shadows. Yeah, look at that gun. It's totally, man, that baby was taking up a lot of screen. It's like you almost don't want to put an optic on it or a sight because it's going to block out your vision, which is ironic. Ability tree, let's back up real quick. Ability tree looks kind of cool. You know, I love stuff. Why is it doing that? I don't know why it's doing that. Get back here. There we go. I feel like there's like this lag, like when I'm clicking and it's not stopping when I want it to. You know, but these types of things are very common in the RPG-esque or RPG light elements. They're in so many games. And I love them. I love that treadmill. I do. I love games that they're always feeding me something to work towards. And it's hard when games don't do that. Like a game like Uncharted. You know, Uncharted doesn't have the RPG elements. Like a gun is a gun. It's just that gun. It relied on story. It relied on graphic fidelity. It relied on the sound quality. It relied on the gameplay mechanics itself, other gameplay mechanics. And, you know, but I love this type of stuff. To me, this is my type of game. I like this. You know, this is a game that I would play, get a couple of the friends, and, you know, just get in there and you know, slay some zombies and talk trash on the mic and just have fun. So this game speaks to myself in a lot of ways. This ability is pretty sick. I like that. Yeah.
Let's get some light on the subject.
You know, and that right there, that ability, you know, that was something that I saw in the IGN trailer that it didn't have any effect. Whoops. Yeah, I don't know why this thing's just taking so much time.
Let's get some light on the subject.
And boom, right there. Whoa. Wow. Interesting. That's an interesting, I didn't mean to pause it like that. But what I wanted to show was that the vampires, it actually had an effect, because when the character, you were using this character, or whoever was gaming, or who was controlling the game on the IGN first video, they were using this character right here, and this ability got thrown. And it had zero effect whatsoever. And the other thing too was the little landmine things that I didn't know what they were. I thought they were like, you know, actually like a DPS thing, or damage per second, meaning it's going to put out damage against the enemies, or if it was some sort of healing or reviving tool. But I guess it's like a springboard where this character can throw down those little mines, and then you run over them, and then it'll launch you into the air. I thought it was really interesting, because if you think back to that footage, or if I think back when I was watching this, I was like, oh, wait a minute. So this person really wasn't playing that game right, because they were throwing those little launch pads all over the place like they were just some sort of thing to throw away. They had no real idea of what they were doing. But yeah, this fool looks kind of silly. Yeah. Anyways, yeah, but it, this actually has an effect, and it's a cool effect. Look, it freezes them, turns them into stone. That's pretty tight. Right there, boom. I like that.
From shotguns to sniper rifles.
Well.
And of course, there's also
Now, see all this stuff right here. I love this. I love this stuff.
Customize your weapons.
Having fun with customizations. This could be a really fun game. It really could. But playing it at 30 frames per second,
Significant sections of Redfall
it just that's not. I'm not gonna do that. Sorry.
controls, or used to
I'm
control,
spoiled.
that neighborhood. Underbosses are powerful elites of the vampire gods, with their own unique abilities, like this one's shield.
Yeah, pretty cool. Not a bad.
Prove yourself against the boss, you'll receive a key
enemy type.
of sorts. A skull that gets you one step closer to facing the ultimate threat, the vampire gods.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of this guy. I don't know. Looks more demonic than it does like vampire-esque or lore or whatever.
And thank you for all the support
You're
you've
welcome.
shown Arkane throughout the years.
We sometimes
All
joke
right,
that
so I'm gonna
Arkane's
go ahead and
the
mute
one thing
this.
that's consistent.
We make the kinds of
I'm
games we
still, like I said, I'm still learning, still trying to figure out this, how to use this software. But I'll get there. Don't worry. I will practice and get better. But there's some things on here that I wanted to talk about. I'm just going to let this run in the background. I'm going to start this over so you have something to watch. But one of the big problems that I'm having with this right now is, the criticism that's being levied against, IGN is warranted to the fact that they didn't have someone playing the game that knows how to play a game. That's fair. But the thing that I think that's the worst part about this, now that the 60 frames per second isn't available, and it's going to be coming at a later date, and we don't even know when that's going to be. Is that going to be a month? Is it going to be 6 months, a year? Who knows, right? The criticism for not having 60 frames is a fair criticism against Arkane Studios or Bethesda proper. Like I said, I know Microsoft said what they said. 60 frames is the standard, blah, blah, blah. Bethesda didn't say that, so I'm not going to hold Arkane Studios to that. But, this to me this looks really bad once again for Microsoft. Microsoft has just been, I feel it almost seems like they're doing it on purpose. This just seems intentional. How do you make these many mistakes? Because Microsoft has now put Arkane Studios in a bad light. Because to me, this is not ready to come out. You should not let this game come out with only 30 frames per second. Now, I didn't say this earlier and I forgot. Most games now, like current games, let's use God of War as an example. There are two different modes you can play in. You can play in performance mode, which is 60 frames per second at a lower quality of picture. So not like 4K, and I don't remember the resolution. I think it might be like 1440 or something like that, or maybe even 1080p. Regardless, there is a resolution mode that will give you that 4K. With sometimes they'll have like ray tracing or whatever, and it'll look prettier, but it will only run at 30 frames. So, but you get to choose. You get to make that decision as the gamer and say, okay, I don't really care about the frames. 30 is fine with it. I'm used to it. So, and that's how I used to game. I used to game at 30 frames. I never chose the performance mode. I cared more about it looking pretty and getting the most out of what the developers had put towards the visuals. But once you make the jump to 60 frames, going back is just, it just doesn't work. It's not going to happen. So not having the option, not having just a 1080p 60 frames per second option, not having that, to me, says this game is not ready to come out and they should delay it. Having said that, the thing that's pissing me off and that bothers me the most about the creators and the shills, whatever you want to say, the people who are defending this and who are acting like they've been saying this all along, it's annoying as hell because before the IGN footage came out, there were creators who had gone to the event, played the game, came back and said, this game is amazing. Let's look at the visuals. Let's look at the gameplay. Let's look at the enemy types. Let's look at this and that. And it's like, oh, okay, cool. That's cool. Let's show me what you got. Show me, let's share with me, please. I want to know what's going on with this game. And it was positive. Now, and again, I feel like I got to say this every time. Not every single one of them, not every single creator who was invited to the event did this. Okay. I'm just saying there are plenty of them that have, though. One in particular, that they came back and told their base, they told their fans or subscribers that this game, get excited, get hyped. This is so amazing, blah, 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 blah. And we find out, and now I will say this, one more thing. They also played this game on PCs. They did not play this game at the event on Xboxes. That to me is a red flag. When I heard that the first time I was watching the videos before the IGN stuff came out, I thought, wow, that's not good. Why is this not on Xbox? Like, what the hell? This is marketed towards Xbox. This is a Microsoft exclusive, Game Pass, whatever. But, I know Game Pass also encompasses PCs, but Xbox is the console. That's what matters right now. That's, when you're talking about the console war, PC is not involved. PC is completely separate. When I found out that it wasn't being played on a console, that to me was a problem. But the creators, the people that were there, were acting like, oh, it's no big deal. They just kind of glossed over it. It was just like, we played on PCs, but whatever. I'm sure it's going to be great. And I was like, okay, all right, if you say so. Now, the IGN first footage comes out and makes the game look really bad. IGN did not help Arkane in any way with that gameplay footage. However, the game did not look that good. I pointed out many things that I did not like, and I think that's really getting overlooked. And the same creators that went to the event and came back and said how amazing it was and get hype people. Let's get on the hype train. This is going to be so awesome. You guys are so lucky that you get to have this game on Game Pass. After the footage comes out, these guys come out and say, IGN screwed them over. This isn't cool. This isn't good. They're pieces of shit. Look what they did to this game. This is a bad look for them, for IGN. And then the tweet comes out, Bethesda tweets and says, Redfall, the developers, Arkane, tweet out and say that this is going to be locked at 30 frames per second, no 60 frame mode, and it'll be coming later. It was just astonishing to me of how quickly the videos came out, and it was like, this is a problem. They need to delay this game. What are they thinking? Microsoft needs to get them under control. Like, oh, this is a black eye on the studio, and this doesn't look good. They need to take their time. And I was like, whoa, pump your brakes there, Chief. You literally just said days ago that the game was amazing, that it was awesome. What are you talking about? Oh, while we were at the event, the frame rate was terrible. It didn't work good at all. It was horrible. It wasn't optimized, and it didn't, so many times it was a 60 frames per second, but it dropped below 30. That's a big deal. That is a really big deal. If your game is supposed to be running, like let's say God of War, and it's at performance mode, and it's supposed to be running at 60, most games will drop a couple of frames here and there. It'll drop down to like to 58, 57, maybe even 55. But when you're dropping below 30, when you're in 60 frame mode and you're dropping below 30, that's broken. That game's broken. Okay. Why wasn't that shared? Why was that information not shared with the Xbox fans? Why was that not shared with the gamers? These people are supposed to be taking our best interest, right, into it, like delivering us information, because they're the insiders, right? They're the ones who get the invites. They're the one. I didn't get an invite, because I'm nobody, right? I'm just another normie. So why would they invite me? Okay. I don't have a huge following. I don't have, 500,000 subs or even 10,000 subs to go back and promote this game. That makes sense, right? So these people, I feel like they have some sort of an obligation, to be honest. I don't think they should be withholding information from their fans. I don't think they should be withholding information that's pertinent to a purchase. And to me, that looks like they're getting paid to bullshit. They're withholding information intentionally because they know that if they reveal what they experienced, the truth, then that might turn you, the normies and the gamers, off from purchasing this game. Well, what does that do? How does that affect them? Why like you hear that and you're like, so why would they do that? Well, because that means they won't get invited again. That means they won't get that flight. They won't get that hotel. They won't get to fucking shake hands with the developers and take selfies and, you know, with them and get t-shirts and swag, and they won't get invited again. There's no developer who's going to invite someone back who trashes their game. Okay? Good. I think a good developer who is, you know, not worried, I think they'd be like, yeah, say whatever you want to say. It's no big deal. Just don't reveal. Just don't be a spoiler. Don't spoil the game. Don't spoil the story or whatever. But talk about how it really was. And that led to, you know, that the excuses started coming out. And one excuse that I heard from one person was, I was under NDA, so I couldn't talk about that. Really? But you're talking about it now. You know, to go to the event, come back and tell YouTube, tell everyone who's listening that the game is amazing, get hype, it's awesome, you know, can't wait to play this game. And then the IGN first comes out, and then the announcement comes out, and now your tune is completely different. Now you're revealing the truth. Now you're going to be honest. So you're telling me that if Redfall hadn't announced that it was 30 frames, and if IGN hadn't dropped that IGN first video, you would have withheld the information entirely that the game was not running good at the event. That the frame rate was dropping from a 60 frame rate game was dropping below 30. That stability problems were there. The game wasn't loading in properly. There were issues going on. And it really annoys the shit out of me when I hear people make excuses. Just take your lumps. Take your lumps and fucking apologize. You know, like, that's a blatant lie. You are blatantly withholding information. That's the type of shit that IGN does, that Game Informer does, that media does, GameSpot. That's what they do. That's why people don't trust media. And that's you know, I'm not even talking about the news media. I'm not talking about the CNN and the Foxes. I'm talking about the games media alone, just the games media. You're playing the same damn game that they were playing, and you're an independent creator. That to me is bullshit. And I think that any flack that people are getting for lying about what they played and what they saw, any flack they get is not a fucking witch hunt. It's not harassment. It's not someone picking on you. You brought this on yourself, okay? That's a problem. And it's not the normies' problem. It's not the customer's problem. It's not your fans' problem. It's your problem. You fucked up. And it's super irritating and frustrating to hear the excuses and the sidestepping and throwing other people's names under the bus, you know, and then falling back on these excuses of like, oh, I couldn't say anything. Well, then why are you now? Did your NDA expire the day that Redfall put the day that the Redfall Twitter page put out the information about the 30 frames per second? Did that just happen to be the day that your NDA expired? I doubt it. I seriously fucking doubt it. And it's really annoying. And, you know, people who do that type of shit, I don't have any respect for. I cannot respect someone who cannot be honest. And furthermore, if you make an honest mistake, if you make a mistake and like, yeah, you know what, I didn't know or whatever, I make corrections on my own videos. I've said things and I don't like to say reporting or reported things because I'm not a reporter, but I have talked about things that I've watched on YouTube or stories that have broken on YouTube or on websites that I'm like, okay, cool, I'm gonna check this out. And then I talked about it on my channel. I've made mistakes, and then if I catch them, I correct myself. I come out and like, oh yeah, this was the wrong. Actually, the actor's name is this, or the release date was wrong, or that's the wrong developer. Okay, if I miss them, I miss them, and that it's not intentional. This is intentional. This is intentional withholding of information to maintain a status with a developer and Microsoft, so that you can essentially get paid. That is by definition a shill. That's some punk shit. I've got no respect for that. Zero. And any flack that these people who are lying or lied about what they saw at that reveal, any flack they get, it's on them. It's not a fucking witch hunt. It's not toxic fans. It's not toxic Sony ponies. And these are the things that have been said. I've been seeing that, heard it. I've read it in comments. I keep seeing this shit as though myself was like, oh, okay, because I own a PS5, I don't own an Xbox because I don't have fucking games for me to play. But because I talk about this stuff, I'm a Sony pony. I'm a fanboy. I'm toxic. All of them, and those are media fucking created terms, by the way. Those are media terms that people are using. So you've been indoctrinated by the media to repeat the shit that they say, and now you're using it against people like me or other people. Just generally speaking, YouTubers and gamers who play on PlayStation, they're toxic because they call out a lie. Am I being toxic because I pointed out a fucking lie? I didn't lie. All I did was watch your video. All I did was give you a view. A couple of them, because I went back and watched it a few times. But I'm the jerk. I'm the dickhead. And any normie out there is a dickhead too if you do not subscribe to the channel and you criticize. You're a piece. You're just a piece of shit if you subscribe to a channel, or if you don't subscribe to a channel and you criticize the lie. That's not cool, man. You can't do that. I'm done with that shit, dude. I'm so tired of it. That's a huge reason of why I even started this channel in the first place, was because I used to sleepwalk just like all the other normies. I used to, anything that came out in the movie theater, I was going to pay for it and see, and I just consumed and consumed and consumed. And then one day I just changed. I just started the lie wasn't working anymore. I started catching things and I'm like, do I really like this? Is this really that good? Is The Last Jedi really good? Is it? Was Black Panther a really good movie? No, it wasn't. But I thought it was, because all the reviewers said so. All the commenters said so. And I just kept hearing it and seeing it and seeing it and hearing it. And I just started repeating that shit. And I think it's important because more and more normies are waking up. Okay. We're not so many of us are sleepwalking anymore. Okay. And pointing out things like this, I hope, will wake other people up, because it's important to understand that the information that you're getting, it should be vetted. You should be asking questions and paying attention. I was listening to videos of people who were at the event, and one guy in particular was just acting like a victim, just acting like everything was misconstrued. Like, there was an NDA. I couldn't, my hands were tied, people. I don't know what I was supposed to do. I did the best that I could possibly do. Really? Toxic Sony fans, the witch hunt, they're coming after me. They're coming after Arkane. They're coming after Microsoft. No. We're talking about the lie. We're talking about the media maneuvers that you people want to fucking play. If you're going to dance and walk and talk and squawk like media, then you're going to take the media criticism. I'm going to treat it as such. If you're going to act like media, I'm going to treat you like media. If you're going to bullshit like media and you're going to push a narrative and you're going to try to deceive people so that you can maintain status and essentially financial status too, because people who got flown out, you didn't have to pay for that ticket. Flights aren't cheap nowadays. That's a luxury. Getting the clicks for your channel so that you get more views, which means you get paid more money. That's a luxury. You're getting paid. And Sony fans are toxic. People who call this out are toxic. Just take your lumps. Take your lumps and say you're sorry. You know, I've said this. I've said this and to anybody like in my real life. You know, even with like my normie wife, when we argue or disagree about something, the moment someone says they're sorry to me, I completely let go, because that means something to me. If someone apologizes and they sincerely say, listen, man, I screwed up. That was wrong. My bad. I shouldn't have said that, you know, or I was misinformed or whatever. I immediately give in, because it's like, okay, listen, what am I going to do? I wanted the apology. I got the apology. Anything else is just, I'm being a jerk. Okay. Watching someone get caught in a lie and then try to slither and slide away from any sort of accountability and not even say, I'm sorry, or my bad, or yeah, I kind of messed up. No sort of fucking accountability. Just deflecting, throwing Sony fans under the bus, throwing other reporters under the bus. That's some bullshit. That's some punk shit. I've got no respect for that. I got no love for those type of people. I don't want to be around those types of people, because having humility is something that you should have. That is a quality that is important. That's important, especially if you're quote unquote influencing others. And I really do. I think, you know, it was just something that was really irritating me, obviously, that, you know, people were being exposed and it was just not their fault. It was, you know, it was a witch hunt. It was an NDA's fault. You know, it was, I didn't want to speak up. I was afraid of what could happen to me. Shut the fuck up. You fucking punk. Just shut up. Okay. So let's there was a couple other things that I wanted to talk about in regards to what this means for Microsoft, and what it means for Bethesda, you know, because, you know, Arkane is underneath the umbrella of Bethesda. They're in their house, and Starfield is Bethesda's game. That's the big kahuna of the year. The game has been delayed twice now. Redfall has been delayed. And that's another thing too about the release date for Redfall. Microsoft came out, when was it? I think it was E3 of last year. I think it was. And during this event, whether it was E3 or not, it doesn't matter. I think it was like in June, May, something like that. But they came out with this montage of games and reveals and stuff, and it was cool. That's great. Let's bring it on. Let's go. I love those types of events. RIP E3. We'll talk about that some other time. But you know, during that event, Xbox said before the trailer started rolling, it was announced that every game that was going to be shown was releasing in the next 12 months. So that meant that everything that we were going to see was going to be released, I think, by June of this year, of 2023. If I'm not mistaken, not one of those games has released. I could be wrong. I haven't went back. I haven't watched that video in a while. I have to go back and watch it. Starfield was in there, and Redfall was in there. Like I said, Starfield is what everyone's attention is on. Redfall is just it sounds like I'm shitting on it, but it's just another game, right? It's not doing anything new. It's not the big, and Arkane Studios isn't like this big studio. What is Microsoft pushing Bethesda / Arkane to get this out by June? Because I think the release date, I think it comes on the end of this trailer here. Let me see. Yeah, there we go. May 2nd. May 2nd, 2023. So, a day after my sister's birthday. Is Microsoft pushing this because they're under pressure to get at least one of these games out that they promised would be out within 12 months? Did Arkane want to delay this game? Did Bethesda want to delay this game? Did they ask for more time? And Microsoft said no. I mean, it's possible. Microsoft doesn't look good right now. As I said at the beginning, Microsoft has been stepping on their feet for years now. Since the Xbox One launch, since the 360, Microsoft has just been stumbling and bumbling their way through the industry. And I don't think it's hard to believe that Microsoft would pressure Arkane to push this game out. It's possible, you know. And what does that mean for Starfield? You know, Starfield being as big as it is and being this monumental game. This is a movement. You know, this is like Cyberpunk, and we know how Cyberpunk ended. What if Starfield comes out as 30 frames per second? What if they make that announcement? What's going to happen then? What if they say 60 frames will be coming later? Jesus. Could you imagine? You know, and Microsoft has had issues in development and meeting deadlines. They have committed to getting games out, and they move that goalpost a lot. And taking Halo as an example, that was moved strictly because of negative feedback from a shit ass goofy trailer. You know, Halo Infinite trailer comes out, Craig was born, and everyone just eviscerated that trailer, and they delayed the game a whole year. You know, Starfield was supposed to come out last year, and it got delayed to the first half of 2023. And then we get to the beginning of 2023, and then all of a sudden the game comes out in, was it like September, I think, or something like that? So it was delayed twice. And, you know, the people who were going on about how this game, Redfall, was going to be so amazing and get hype and get ready, these were the same people that were defending the Starfield delay. That when the game got delayed again, because it didn't come out and didn't come out in the first half of 2023, it was like total defense mode. Oh, that's not what they said. They never gave a release date, so that doesn't really count. It only counts if they give an actual date. Okay, what if an actual year? You know, they said it was coming out in 2022. It didn't come out. That's a delay, right? Okay, and then now we're getting to the point where it's like, okay, the game will come out in the first half of the year, and then it doesn't. It's like, that doesn't count because they didn't say a month. They didn't give an actual date. What the hell kind of childish bullshit is that? It sounds so cringe when just the arguments that were being made. They didn't actually say that, so it doesn't really matter. Shut up. It matters. It counts. But what if the game comes out and it's 30 frames per second? How does that look for Microsoft? How does it look for Bethesda? To me, Bethesda doesn't really matter because, and when I say that, it doesn't matter for me about Bethesda because Bethesda makes buggy ass games. But it's cute. It's adorable. The modders save them, you know. Oh, it's just so much fun to watch, you know, fucking players get launched off the map and to lose your saves and to watch, you know, NPCs walk through walls and, you know, to get stuck between two rocks when you're running through a forest. I mean, it's just so adorable. Fucking, it's amazing. People who do that, who have been defending Bethesda, you're never going to change them. But what if, right? What if this game only comes out at 30 frames per second? I think it's par for the course for Bethesda, but they are now a first party studio of Microsoft. Microsoft made that call. There you go again. Microsoft just stepping on their feet again. Doesn't look good. It is a bad look. And that's another thing I heard too, was, is the Redfall 30 frames per second, is this priming the pumps for that bad news of Redfall being at, Starfield being at 30 frames? And do they even announce it? Would Microsoft even want to say that? Would they even want to announce that? Would Bethesda want to announce that Starfield was going to be at 30 frames per second? You know, and there, you know, the footage, I would love to go over that footage. Maybe I will. Maybe I'll make a video just going over the Starfield footage, because it didn't, I thought my initial watch of that, I was like, oh, it looks pretty cool. You know, it's like, all right, let's see what happens. It doesn't look amazing, but it looks pretty cool. And then I went back and watched a couple of times, and I watched some other people's breakdowns. I'm like, holy shit, that didn't look good at all. There's a lot wrong with that trailer. I don't know. Okay, I think we're getting close to wrapping up. It is late, Sunday night. Got to go to work in the morning. Yeah, I had some other things on here that I wanted to discuss. But, you know, one of the biggest gripes about this whole Redfall drama thing that I had was really just the bullshitting and the lying to fans so that they can get paid and get access. That's just some stanky shit. It's just, that's media, right? That's we see media, the news media do that shit all the time, but you know, games media does it now too. And now, yay, YouTubers are doing it too. And you know, I guess it's, you know, it's part of the cycle, right? I mean, you know, that's why so many, you know, media sites are failing and you know, not getting what they used to, is because network TV isn't that big anymore. Everyone has a screen. Everyone has YouTube. Everyone has Rumble. Everyone has Twitter and Facebook and all these Instagram and there's all this stuff, right? You can get information from so many places right now, and it's so fast. You know, the information is just at your fingertips whenever you want it. Of course, media is dying. Of course, they're struggling, and that's kind of why you know, so many of these sites jumped over to YouTube. You know, they did the gold rush. You know, they try to rush into YouTube to keep that audience, to prevent the audience from leaving and going to independent creators. Well, corporations like Bethesda, Microsoft, Sony, you know, Naughty Dog, all of them, they've gotten hip to the fact that there are YouTube creators that have massive influence, that have massive amounts of followers, and it is in their best interest to utilize them before they utilize the media corporation. You know, so many young people now, you know, they don't give two shits about going to IGN. Maybe they do, but they got their YouTubers. They're going to their trusted sources. You know, well, what happens when those trusted sources get bought off? What happens when those trusted sources start getting free swag, free flights, free access, which translates to more money for their sites? It's exactly what IGN and GameSpot, Game Informer, Kotaku, Polygon, all of them. It's exactly what they do. And it's something that has been called out for years on the media side. Like I saw that shit many, many years ago. You know, when I woke up and unplugged from the Matrix and started questioning and seeking other sources for information, one of the reasons was I was listening to IGN specifically, the way they were portraying certain games, the way that they were covering them, and the way that their podcast, because that was a big extension of what I was mostly involved with listening to, was listening to their podcast. And you know, I just started catching little things. I would hear things that just didn't ring right in my ear. It was like, what? Like, I thought you said it was good. I thought you said this was a great game, you know, and then all of a sudden the game comes out and it's not anything that they talked about, you know, and it's like, You start paying attention to that type of shit. And at least I did. And it drove me away from using them as a source of information. Now, I'm not saying that you can't go to IGN. Yet they do break stories. You know, guys like Jason Schreier, Jesus, that guy's like the insider king. He's always breaking shit, you know, and he's media, but he's that's the thing though. He's still media. Is he getting paid to break these stories? I don't know. I'm not saying he is. I'm just saying because media has been exposed for the corrupt pieces of shit that they are, you have to question it. And now we are starting to get examples of the same thing happening to YouTube creators. Same thing. You know, the exact same thing that IGN has been guilty of for years is now going on with YouTube creators. You know, and I just think it's important that if this information gets, you know, talked about, especially to the normies, right? Because, you know, we as normies, we're everywhere, you know. As much as I've been gaming for decades, and this is my niche right here. Like, this is what I would know more about, more than movies and way more than comic books. But it's still, you know, I'm still a normie, and normies need to pay attention to this shit. I think it's important. I think it's important that you know who you're listening to, and when things like this happen, when creators get exposed or they just show their ass. I mean, really, because that's really what happened. Some of these creators they revealed who they really were, or are, I should say. They got caught lying, and then they played the victim. You know, it's the same shit that's been happening to all the news media for years, and then, you know, games media more recently, and now here we go with YouTubers. The cycle continues. You know, and I just think it's important. I really do. I think, you know, to any normie that's listening, I think it's important to vet your sources and to call out the bullshit when you see it. Call me out. I don't give a shit. You know, if I'm misleading something, it's okay for someone to say that, like, dude, you know, you said this and that's not true. And, oh shit, you know what? The reason why, and it's like, hey, my bad. But I don't have any interest of blaming someone else. I don't have any, because it's my words. These are my words. Just like these creators, it's their words. It's their channels. It's their information that they're sharing or not sharing. And when they get exposed, own up to that shit. And when you don't, then whatever flack comes your way is on you. That's your problem. So, all right. Well, I think I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up. Namaste to you too. These guys. I got some other notes here, but I had so many other things that I wanted to talk about that really were more specific to a couple of creators. But I just, you know, I thought about it and I was like, I wanted to talk about certain names. But it's like, I don't know. I don't know. I didn't feel right about it. It just didn't seem right. You know, maybe you can listen to what I'm saying. You might infer who I'm talking about specifically, and that's okay. But I just, yeah, I know that, you know, one of the things that, you know, I was going back and forth with on this was I have seen other creators make videos about other creators. And I don't really have a problem with that. It's okay. And it's definitely okay when, if someone is getting called out, then they answer to that call and then they make a video about the person who was calling them out. You know, they want to get that beef started. I'm fine with that. It's just, to me, sometimes I think it could be construed as just clout chasing. You know, I know that's a big term. You know, you're just trying to make a name for yourself. You know, you're trying to make your channel bigger. You're trying to grow your channel, and you're punching up so that you can get some attention. I don't want anyone's attention like that. I really don't. I don't feel the need for that. As I've said many times before, I have a job. I have a 9-to-5er, pays my bills, takes care of my family. this is a hobby. I'm not trying to grow my channel so that I can start, you know, chasing dreams of being, you know, this famous YouTuber and making a bunch of money and all that stuff. That's not a goal of mine. I do this strictly for the joy of it. And I think if I were to start aiming my little tiny, you know, the little group of people, and thank you for clicking on the video, whoever you are, you know, I wouldn't like to like aim them at somebody as like, you know, don't talk to them, don't look at them, what's wrong with them. I would just have that feeling, you know, it would leave a taste in my mouth that I didn't really like. And I'm not saying I would never do it. I'd never say never. That's one thing. I'm not going to say, I'm not trying to sound like I'm above these things. I'm such a better person than that. That's no. Everyone can make mistakes, and everyone can, you know, certain things could, you know, could trigger something in my head where I'm like, you know what? No, I got to say something about this. I need to, you know, this is something that's just, this cannot go unsaid. But I just, I didn't want to be labeled as like some sort of clout chaser trying to grow my channel, because I'm not, I mean, if my channel grows, hey, that's great. I'm not going to sit and be like, don't subscribe. No, I don't put on the screen, don't like, don't share, unsubscribe. Okay. And I do that for a reason, because I would appreciate the like, I would appreciate it to share, you to share, and I would appreciate you to subscribe. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. But I don't need to latch on to someone, a larger channel to grow. That's not the way I want to do it. It'll grow organically, or it won't. You know, maybe one day it'll just stop. Maybe I just won't do it anymore. But anyways, so I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up. Thank you for taking the time. I appreciate you stopping by. I hope you have a great week, and I will talk to you in the next video. Bye.